Our first presentation this evening is going to be from our District Deputy Grand Master of District 7, Right Worshipful Brother William Scarborough Trowell. He was initiated in Corinthian Lodge number 27 in 2009 and has remained actively involved in Masonic leadership and education ever since. He is serving his third term as DDGM for District number 7, is a member of the Craft Relations Committee, and serves as a director of Ashlar College of Freemasonry. He was instrumental in the establishment of the Kootenay Lodge of Education and Research, reflecting his long-standing passion for Masonic education. This September, he will be coronated as an Honorary Inspector General, 33rd degree in the Ancient and Accepted Scottish Rite of Canada. Right Worshipful Brother Trowell is honored to once again serve the Brethren of District number 7.
What I'm going to discuss today is going to be beyond attendance, building a culture of truly active lodge. There's been a few other talks on this. You'll see a lot of similarities. I think it's a very important issue that we're having throughout our jurisdiction. It's not isolated to any one lodge. These reflections, they're offered not as an instruction, but as an invitation to pause, consider, and reflect on the kind of lodge and the kind of brother we all can aspire to be. Brethren, these reflections have grown from countless conversations, lodge visits, and experiences shared with brethren throughout our jurisdiction. They are not intended to describe any single lodge, nor to suggest that one lodge has found all the answers. Rather, they represent patterns that many of us have witnessed in our travels throughout the jurisdiction. In sharing these thoughts, I include myself among those continually at learning, reflecting, and striving to strengthen the craft we all love. Freemasonry has always asked us to pause, to reflect, and consider not only what we do, but why we do it. Our principles of brotherly love, relief, and truth are familiar to us all, yet they were never intended to remain with words spoken within the lodge room. They are principles meant to be lived quietly, consistently, and sincerely in our lodges, in our homes, within our communities, and in the lives we lead each day. In recent years, many lodges have found themselves facing similar challenges. Attendance is not what it once was. Fewer men are discovering the craft on their own, and many lodges quietly wonder how they might return relevance to an increasingly connected, yet often disconnected world. At times, it can be difficult to explain to those outside our doors what Freemasonry truly offers. None of these realities are unique to any one lodge. They are a simple part of changing world in which we labor together. These challenges invite reflection rather than criticism. Brotherly love is not simply one of our principles, it is a culture from which every healthy lodge grows. Without it, ritual becomes routine. Service becomes obligation, and fellowship becomes little more than attendance. With it, the lodge becomes far more than a place where meetings are held. It becomes a place where brethren truly belong. When we look honestly at lodge life today, we may notice that lodges often place their emphasis in different areas. Some naturally devote more of their energy inward, strengthening fellowship, ritual, education, and the bond between the brethren. Others place greater emphasis on the presence within the community through charity work, public events, visible acts of service. Both approaches have value, and neither is born of bad intention. More often, they are shaped by history, geography, circumstance, or simply the habits that have developed over many years. In my travels and conversations with brethren across the jurisdiction, I've come to believe that the strongest and healthiest lodges intentionally cultivate both. They invest deeply in one another while also allowing the communities to witness Freemasonry lived through action and example. Neither inward fellowship nor outward service can flourish for long without the other. Together, they create the culture of a truly active lodge. This balance, I believe, is one of the characteristics that distinguishes a lodge which is merely busy from one that is truly active. There are lodges today that exemplify a strong inward focus with genuine care and commitment. In one such lodge, the ritual is practiced exceptionally well. Openings and closings are seamless. Degrees are conducted with precision. And whenever work is scheduled, the brethren are willing to gather, rehearse, and prepare. The lodge building is well maintained. The festive board is warmly attended, and genuine friendships have developed over many years. The brethren sincerely believe that they are engaged within their community in supporting one or two charitable or civic events each year. These efforts are undertaken with the very best of intentions, yet they often remain quiet and largely unseen. Within the lodge, there is harmony, respect, and genuine affection among the members. Yet, despite all the positive qualities, membership has continually declined. None of these observations are offered as a criticism, nor are they intended to diminish the tremendous efforts of devoted brethren who have faithfully carried their lodges through difficult years. Rather, they are a reflection drawn from sincere lodges made up of good men, lodges not unlike those many of us belonged to, visited, admitted, and admired during different stages of our own Masonic journey. That realization led me to ask a simple question: what makes a lodge active? Is it the number of meetings held each year, the number of degrees performed, the number of committees, fundraisers, or social events? Or is there something deeper that cannot easily be measured? Perhaps the answer is not found in a calendar. Perhaps it is found in a culture. But culture is not created by meetings alone. It is formed through the countless interactions between brethren. How we welcome one another, how we encourage participation, how we support one another beyond the lodge room, and how every brother feels that they truly belong. It is this deeper culture that quietly shapes whether a lodge merely functions or genuinely flourishes. One aspect of culture deserves particular reflection. It is less to do with visibility or programming, a far more to do with how we live out brotherhood. Many lodges are faithful in their regular communications. The brethren attend, conduct businesses of the lodge, perform the ritual, enjoy a meal together, and then return home. Month after month, that pattern repeats itself. On paper, such lodges may appear busy, organized, and successful. Yet even the busiest lodges can slowly become passive in spirit if participation never grows beyond routine. Regular attendance, while important, does not always create belonging. Freemasonry was never intended to exist only within the framework of a meeting agenda. We call ourselves a brotherhood. Yet in some lodges, the brotherhood seldomly extends beyond the lodge room or the festive board. In my travels, I've encountered lodges that are exemplary in ritual education and community involvement, yet still struggle to build a lasting personal connection among their members. In my travels, I've also encountered many smaller lodges with limited resources, where fellowship among the brethren has become the very foundation upon which everything else is built. The difference is seldomly found in the ritual. It is almost always found in the relationship. Attendance alone does not create fraternity. Shared experiences do. Shared experiences strengthens fraternity. It rarely happens by accident. It grows when brethren intentionally invest time in one another, not only during lodge meetings, but throughout the ordinary moments of life. It is often in those simple moments that the strongest bonds of our fraternity are formed. In my travels, I have encountered lodges where brethren gather outside the lodge to help one another build a carport, repair a fence, share a meal, attend a movie, or simply spend time together. Those untiled and informal moments often do more to strengthen the craft than any single meeting. By contrast, there are lodges where attendance is consistent and the work is done well, yet the brethren seldomly engage beyond the lodge room itself. Members may visit other lodges, attend meetings once, twice, or even 3 times a month, and remain technically active, yet still feel isolated in practice. A lodge may therefore appear healthy on paper while quietly becoming passive in spirit. The question is not how often we meet, it is whether we truly belong to one another. Some lodges have rediscovered that fellowship does not always need to be scheduled around ritual. They're gathering where the purpose is simply to be together. If discussion of the lodge matters arise, it does so naturally. Practice may follow or may not. What matters is fellowship is allowed to flourish. For it is through fellowship the lasting friendships are often formed. Masonry is not about the work alone. It is about the relationship that gives the work meaning. It is within those relationships that mentorship finds the greatest strength. Ritual may introduce a man to Freemasonry, but fellowship is often what keeps him engaged. Strong fellowship creates the environment in which meaningful mentorship can flourish, where a brother feels that he truly belongs. Learning no longer becomes an obligation, it becomes a shared journey. Another characteristic of truly active lodges is its commitment to mentorship. That journey begins long before the candidate first enters a lodge room. It begins when a man first experiences an interest in Freemasonry and continues through every stage of his Masonic journey. Mentorship is not reserved for past masters, worshipful masters, or experienced ritualists. Every brother has something to offer. Sometimes mentorship is found in the answering a question, offering encouragement, making an introduction, sharing a meal, or simply noticing when a brother has become quiet or absent. In a healthy lodge, every Freemason is both learning from someone or investing in someone else. One of the first and most important expressions of that mentorship is sponsorship. Sponsorship is far more than signing of a paper or a petition or coaching a candidate through the degrees. It is an enduring commitment to walk beside a brother, encouraging him, answering his questions, introducing him to the wider fraternity, and helping him discover where his own gifts and strengths can help the lodge. The lesson of the degrees are brought to life through the guidance, fellowship, and examples of experienced brethren. In many ways, truly active lodges is one where mentorship never truly ends, because every Mason, regardless of his years in the fraternity, continue both to learn from others and to guide those to follow. Another distinction I've reflected on more deeply is how lodges respond when participation becomes difficult rather than optional. Geography, health, distance can quietly narrow what is possible for many brethren. Even when their commitment remains strong, a thriving lodge is not defined solely by how often it meets or how full its calendar may be, but it is willingness to meet brethren where they are. A passive lodge waits, a truly active lodge moves. When lodges internally build this culture of fellowship and mentorship, remarkable things often begin to happen. Participation grows, confidence grows, fellowship deepens, responsibility is shared, and perhaps more importantly, brethren begin to feel like they truly belong. It is often at that point that attendance is no longer motivation by obligation, but by a genuine desire to be among one's brethren. In my travels, one lodge that has particularly inspired me regarding this is Creston Lodge number 54. I travel regularly over the Kootenay Pass to visit, and over time, I have witnessed a genuine and sustained change. What changed was not the ritual, which was already sound. What changed was intention. The brethren invested inwardly first. Fellowship was protected rather than rushed. Social times were treated as essential, not incidental. Candidates were approached with care rather than urgency, and time allowed for them to absorb each degree so that the journey was meaningful rather than transactional. Since January 2022, the Lodge has grown from approximately 30 members to roughly 40 on the roll. More importantly, newer members were intentionally brought into the Lodge life through participation, mentorship, and responsibility. Brethren participated together, learned together, and in doing so, formed stronger bonds. What makes Creston Lodge particularly inspiring is its renewed visibility. It was not the result of marketing campaigns or deliberate efforts to seek recognition. It was one of natural consequence of a lodge that was strengthened itself from within. As the lodge strengthened inwardly, the presence in the community expanded naturally. Creston Lodge and its related bodies became increasingly visible through the constant and sincere engagement, through public events, charitable supports, commemorations, and shared milestones. These efforts were never undertaken for recognition, yet they were noticed because of the reflected genuine Masonic values lived openly. In my travels, I have found that the largest urban lodges can often benefit from visibility through their size alone. Smaller lodges rarely have that advantage. For them, intention matters more than the scale. What Creston demonstrated is that when a lodge lives its principles consistently, visibility follows naturally. In an age when Freemasonry is often misunderstood, allowing the public to witness real Masons quietly serving their communities, replacing myth with reality. Being truly active is not simply about what we do, it is about who we are, how we treat one another, and allowing others to witness Freemasonry lived with sincerity. None of these reflections suggest that change must happen overnight. Every lodge, regardless of its size, resource, or location, can take one meaningful step forward. Sometimes that step is simply inviting a brother for coffee, visiting someone who has quietly drifted away, opening the lodge to your community, or encouraging a newer Mason to become involved. Great changes in Freemasonry often begin with small acts carried out consistently. A thriving lodge is not built by extraordinary brethren. A thriving lodge is not built by extraordinary brethren doing extraordinary things. It is built by ordinary brethren consistently investing in one another. Perhaps becoming a truly active lodge begins with something much simpler than another event or another committee. Perhaps it begins when we choose to counsel one another with wisdom, mentor those who are newer to the craft, and inspire one another through our own examples. When those three things become part of the culture of the lodge, meaningful engagement follows. Freemasonry has always asked us to pause, to reflect, and consider not only what our lodge is today, but what together it can become. Every lodge, regardless of where it finds itself today, has the capacity to become stronger, not by abandoning traditions, but by embracing it more fully. we strengthen our fellowship, invest in one another, serve our communities, and welcome others into our journey, we fulfill the purpose our ancient fraternity has always intended. Every lodge writes its own legacy, not in the minutes of its meetings, but in the lives it shapes, the fellowship it builds, and the examples it leaves for those who will one day follow. The culture we create ultimately determines the legacy we leave. In the end, a truly active lodge is not measured by the number of meetings it holds, but by the lives it quietly shapes. May each of us leave this place asking not whether our lodge is active or passive, but what each of us can do to strengthen the culture we leave for those who will one day follow. Thank you, my brother.
Here.
Next time, daytime.
This time we'll have some water here for the speakers as well. I know from personal experience that having a lodge in a very small town is an uphill battle to attract new members. But Kaslo has the advantage of a beautiful 130-year-old lodge room that has a lot of members from other communities who keep it strong. Now, this lodge room is the only one I've ever seen where people can smoke cigarettes and cigars. And I was looking through the history of Kaslo Lodge, and in 1908 they passed a resolution to buy 6 cuspidors. I had to look that word up. That's a spittoon. And so they would all be chewing tobacco and spitting it out. For tomorrow, before we all depart, we absolutely need to get a picture on that deck above that Grand Lodge sign. And speaking of history, I just want to point out that we've all been a part of history this weekend. When you're at the first of something, it'll have a long legacy. The success of this is obvious. The desire and thirst for education is always been the meat on the bone in Freemasonry for me. There's a lot of parts to the meeting, but that 5 or 10 minutes just isn't enough. That's the inspiration that lights the spark. And so you'll see the lantern on the stump in front of me. That is the only working tool we have in this lodge. It's the only one we need. Light that lamp, brethren, and ladies, thank you for attending. Thank you for being part of this weekend, and thank you all for attending. Most worshipful Grand Master.